I'm sorry about that. I'm struggling with connection today. It's a poor connection from my side. You request go live.
Hi, let's try again.
Yes, definitely. I think I'm having poor connection from my side because it has just been load shading right now. So hopefully this time it won't disappoint. Thanks for joining me back. Okay, so I had asked, what is your understanding or what is your knowledge about gender-based violence?
So I'm very passionate about, um, I don't want to say I'm passionate about gender-based violence, but fighting against gender-based violence.
Mm-hmm.
So I volunteer at two non-profit organizations in South Africa that specifically deal with gender-based violence. And basically, these organizations give coaching advice as well as legal advice. And I'm one of the legal volunteers. So basically, gender-based violence, if I can just, okay, and before I start, I just want to say this is not legal advice. This entire video is not legal advice. Please,
Yeah.
if you are in a situation like this, please get legal advice for your specific situation. Okay. Okay, but just to go back to your question, so gender-based violence is basically violence against a specific gender. And in South Africa, it's obviously women. That doesn't mean that men don't get abused or there's not violence being committed against men, but in South Africa, the statistics are higher for women. So usually we speak about domestic violence. And for domestic violence, you can get a protection order. And the interesting thing that many people may not know is that in South Africa, not only physical abuse is considered as domestic violence, you also get sexual abuse, you also get emotional abuse, you also get financial abuse, you get stalking, and then other controlling behaviors are also in the definition as well. So in South Africa, we have a very broad definition of what domestic violence is.
Okay. All right. Oh, that's interesting to know. And can you kindly just share a bit about what are the laws protecting victims who face gender-based violence?
So I think for the layman out there, the most important thing to know is that there's always help. You're never alone. If you're facing a situation where you are being abused, in whatever form it may be,
Yes.
you don't even need an attorney. All you do is you can try to get a protection order. So what you do is you go to your closest court,
Okay.
and the clerk of the court will assist you to fill in a form. So as soon as you filled in this form, they give you an interim protection order. So this interim protection order is, like the word says, interim. So it's not forever. It's just for a time being. Then the person that you got the order against, they also receive a return date. So on that date, both you and the person that you basically want the protection order against has to go back to court, and you have to tell the court, listen, this is why I want you to make this protection order final. And then the other person must say, okay, and this is why I say you should not make this protection order final. So just for those of you who does not know what a protection order is, it's basically a legal mechanism used to protect you against abuse. So basically, yeah, so there's so many things that it can actually prohibit. So I know, for example, something that happens a lot these days are people being financially abused. So what happens is they perhaps get a divorce, or they live together and then somebody starts abusing someone else in the household. And by not paying for food, for example, or not paying for the home where they are living. So then you can actually get a protection order to force that person to keep on paying these expenses that they used to pay.
Oh, okay. Wow. So much knowledge. Ooh, this network. Okay, there we go. Thank you so much. For
I love your I love your hair. It's beautiful. It suits you so
thank
well.
you. It's actually a head wrap. So
Yeah.
I thought because it's Heritage Month, why not go with being African? So
Yes,
thank you.
no, definitely. I actually forgot that it's Heritage Month. Thank you for reminding me.
It is. It is. Thank you so much once again. Okay, moving to our third question. Sorry, I'm just going to read it a bit.
No worries.
um, what falls under the definition of abuse in South Africa? What does it include?
Okay, so as I previously said, in South Africa, it's a very wide definition. So I think I'm just going to expand on what I already said. So emotional abuse, what is emotional abuse? Oh, now I can see you. Yay. Now the lighting is better. So
Yeah.
emotional abuse can be anything like me calling you like stuff that you don't want to hear. So let's say, for example, I say you're fat, or I keep on telling you you're useless. So basically, verbal abuse is emotional abuse. Okay. Physical abuse, we all know physical abuse. So you hit someone, yeah, basically anything physical. Sexual abuse is a very interesting one because a lot of people in South Africa don't know this, but you can actually rape your spouse. So yeah, that's also some of the situations that I see a lot. Then the other one is financial abuse. So as I previously mentioned, when you stop paying for I don't know, like the house or the food for the kids, anything like that. Or
Yeah.
even something like actually taking away somebody's car. Yeah, so basically taking away their means to make a living for themselves. Then
Mm-hmm.
stalking, I think we all know what stalking is. And this can be online or in person. And then any controlling behavior. So yeah, so it's a very broad definition. If you want to check it out again, anybody is welcome to have a look at the Domestic Violence Act. You'll find all of these examples listed there.
Wow, so much knowledge, Danielle. Thank you once again for sharing the different types of abuse. And a lot of people face abuse in different ways, and they don't even know that what they're facing is actually abuse. So thank you so much for clarifying that term abuse. And how does one get a protection order in South Africa? I heard in one of your previous explanation, you informed us about protection order. So can you just kindly clarify um, how does one get a protection order in South Africa?
So, as I mentioned, you just go to your nearest court. So,
Mhm.
what you can take with you is any proof that you have of abuse that you can attach to this interim order. And it's a very straightforward form. So, you basically just say, like, you fill in your name and then the person's name that's abusing you.
Mhm.
You also state, do you have children with this person? Is there any minor children involved? You mention all the instances where this person abused you, and you ask for specific relief. In other words, I want this person to stop calling my employer and spreading lies about me, for example. So yeah, so basically you just take everything with you to prove your abuse. Yeah, so it's a very straightforward process, but I know it can get very overwhelming. especially if you are in an abusive relationship, I think it's very hard to actually do basic things to like just filling out a form. And for those people, I just want to say, like, I'm so sorry you're going through that. And like I said, the clerks of the court are really nice. Yeah, they can also assist you if you struggle with filling out these forms.
That's good to hear. And in terms of, let's say, for example, the victim doesn't really have evidence, or maybe she or he realized after a certain while that she or he was experiencing abuse, and now the evidence has been void or has been removed, something like that, or has been lost. What would you advise that person? Is there still a way to help that person?
Definitely, definitely. So I first just want to clarify. So protection order, you can't get a protection order to for something that happened in the past
Oh,
and you're not afraid of it happening again. So let's say, for example, I lived with someone and they hit me every day and I didn't realize, oh, but this is actually domestic violence. But now I'm out of that situation. I've left that relationship and now I want to go and get a protection order. Like you can't do that. It's only to prevent future harm of happening. But what I always say is if you don't have proof and you are in that situation, it's still something that's still happening. Go get a protection order. Like, even if you don't have proof, just take what you have with you. If it's something that already happened, so let's say, for example, again, somebody hit you, for example, I'm just using them,
mm,
like physical abuse as an example, because I think that's the one we know the best.
yes.
And I think that's also the one that happens the most. So let's say, for example, somebody hit you, you got hurt, you broke something, or you lost a tooth, or whatever. So what you then do is you go to the doctor and they will fill in a form for you to basically state what all your injuries are. And then you can open a case of assault at the
Okay.
police station.
Yes.
So definitely never just sit back and take it. Even if you do not have enough abuse, do not sit in that situation. Go get help. And if you do not want to involve the courts, at least get support. So I know there's a lot of organizations in South Africa and a lot of free Facebook groups that you can join for support. And I know a lot of people tell me, listen, but I'm afraid. I don't want people to see like I'm part of this group. So, and to that people, I actually just want to give a tip. You can always create a fake account. So just
Oh,
like any name, imagine just any name that you always wanted to have. And then you use that account to just join groups that give you support to actually empower yourself so you can leave that abusive relationship. Because remember, our kids are watching.
definitely.
So if you stay in a relationship, yeah, people always say, no, but you must stay together for the kids. I don't agree. If you are in a violent relationship, you are teaching your children. It's fine if mommy eats daddy and daddy eats mommy. Yeah, so we must show up, we must be an example to our children.
Most definitely, I totally agree with that. Staying in an abusive relationship because of kids, it's not really healthy. Yes, we can say we're staying for the kids, but then at the end of the day, I think they will also be harmed in some sort, you know. So,
Definitely, yes, you 100%.
mm, thank you so much for sharing that. So, coming to our other question, is there a safe place one can go to after they have reported the abuse? And if it's safe for that person to return home?
Okay, so again, it would depend on what situation you are in. Emotional abuse, I mean, you can return home. Like there's not like imminent harm. Like you don't really, if you don't really fear for your life, then go back by all means. I know there's protection orders that you can also get where the other person is forced to stay like in one side of the house and you stay in the other side of the house, which sounds like pathetic, but like it works. Especially for people who don't have money to move out. But if you are in a situation where you really need to get out, like you fear for your life daily, or you need to get your children out of that situation, there are options. So you can just Google safe houses in your community. So just a simple Google search, you will find them. I know there's also a Facebook group that we can perhaps share in the comments after you've saved this live, where people can also go on, and there's also, you can also ask on the group, listen, this is my area and I need like a safe house for, let's say, me and my 3 children, for example, and then they can point you in the right direction.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's so nice that technology these days has become so useful for us. And there's places like Facebook. Everyone uses Facebook. So if there's information on Facebook, such useful information, I think Facebook is one of the social medias that one can really rely on then. Thank you so much, Danielle. Moving to our other question. Are all cases of gender-based violence reported, and if not, why not?
You know what? Actually, not. I think so we have really high levels of gender-based violence in South Africa. And the thing is, I actually think, I'm actually dead sure that most abuse don't get reported. So, especially men. So let's look at men, where men are abused. I think a lot of men, and the men that I've spoken to, say, listen, but I don't want to really report this abuse because I feel embarrassed, because I'm a man and now I'm getting abused. So shame is the number one thing. And this can happen to anyone. Like anybody can say, listen, but sure, I feel shame because how can this happen to me? Like it sounds like something that happens to people like in the outside world, and now it's happening to me. So shame, that's number one. Then number two, I think it's because they don't know that they are being abused. They just think that it's normal. So that's usually people who grew up in households where abuse was like the norm. So yeah, definitely. So again, the example you're showing to your kids. And number three, I think people just don't go and report these crimes because they don't have trust in the police anymore. So I mean, like all of us, we read in the papers about all of this corruption and people getting killed and their murderers are never found. And all of these horror stories, and then you just lose your faith in the police, and you just, or in the legal system, and you just go like, why should I report this? Like nothing is going to happen. So yeah, I think that's the main three reasons why. What do you think? Do you think there's other reasons why people don't really report abuse?
No, I think you've mentioned the main ones. Um, Basically, I feel people are scared, and like you said, shame. They don't want to, like, no one wants to inform people that I'm experiencing a certain abuse. Like
You
they,
don't want to be a victim.
yes, yes, definitely. You said it correctly. People do not want to be victims. Like that thing feels like it's a shame. It feels like it's a bad thing. And I think it's high time we teach people that these things happen, and if it happens to you, it's also okay. You then need to realize that you are facing abuse and you need to get help. So
Definitely.
yes, yes. So I just think people are scared and they don't want to feel like they're victims, or they don't want to be surrounded about around shame.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I can think at this point.
I think
Um,
another one is when you mentioned they're afraid. I also think a lot of people are afraid that if they go and report it, like how can a piece of paper, a protection order, how is that going to protect me against my husband or my wife who kicks me every day? And like I fear for my life, it may just make it worse.
you know, exactly. Um, The best labor lawyer just commented here. Um, she's saying, as a lawyer myself, I've been ignored by SAPS, which is the police, South African Police Services, when attempting to report abuse. So I think this is one of the reasons why people do not report abuse. You've also said it that you know, people feel like the police are failing us as a country, you know. So yeah, valid point. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's sad because I mean, like obviously most of the police
Mm-hmm.
don't really want to help. But I think there are still police officers who really take pride in their work and really do want to help and make the world a better place. So it's actually very sad, but one can understand why. Oh, and another tip I just want to give everyone. If you ever want to report something to the police and they're just not helpful, and you really believe like this is something that needs to be reported,
Mm-hmm.
demand to speak to the station commander. You know that jokes where they say, don't be a Karen? I'm telling you now, be a Karen. Like, say, I demand to speak to the station commander. And then you
Yeah.
tell the station commander, listen, um, I want to report this crime. Please help me.
Mm. Mm. Definitely. You know, nowadays, I think if you don't demand something, you'll never get help. It's like even
Exactly.
with calls, if you don't get assistance from the cashiers and you're like, can I see the manager? Then now they start you know, they start helping out or something like that. So it's so sad that you know, we have to demand for help in our country from the police. And I totally agree with you that they are good police who still wants to serve the nation. But yeah, I guess the overall of the police services is that they don't help, you know. And I remember one moment I encountered. I went to a police station to certify my documents. So I was applying for varsity, and the police service, that was the police assistant who was helping me out, asked, "What are you going to apply for?" So I actually wanted to study law previously.
Oh,
So
wow.
yes. So I told the policeman that I'm actually um wanting to apply for law. And the policeman was like, why would you want to do that? I mean, you are going to risk your life to save other people. So, like overall, I'm just trying to say he was advising me not to join the law or like anything that
Law
has
enforcement, yeah.
law enforcement. Yes, like you shouldn't join that because you're risking your life. And he was like, I'm also like he felt unsafe, you know, because of have his family can be endangered, you know, like a lot of things can happen to him or his family. So perhaps we can understand their point of view, but then when you took that oath and said you want to be a police saver, you know, you just need to serve the country. Right?
No, I totally agree with you. And actually, Laura just joined. Laura, I know Laura. She's actually a friend of my sister, and her mother is actually in the police. So it's actually funny that we are speaking about this now.
When she just joined, hey.
We have another comment.
Yeah, we do, most definitely. The best labor lawyer says magistrates, I have complaints to have also stated to me that it's often that subs don't want to involve themselves in domestic disputes, interim protection orders, or interim parenting plans. Okay. And we have another comment from the best labor lawyer. I attempted several times to report cyber crimes, hacking, stalking, and I was told by SAPS there is no such thing as cyber crime. Danielle, do you perhaps want to comment on that? Perhaps you have
Yeah.
The
So
best.
just in general, to say there's a lot of police officers that I've noticed aren't really like they're a bit misinformed. Let's just put it like that. I don't want anybody to say I'm defaming them. So I'm choosing my words very carefully. But like, I think there's a lot of police who are not informed, so they will think that there's no such crime, or you can't actually report this, or you can't actually report that. And it is unfortunately the sad reality, and you just need to go with your act and show them, listen, here it is. Or again, demand to speak to the station commander if it's really important. But yeah, so in terms of cyber crimes, interesting enough, there's a lot of there's a lot of court cases at the moment where people are trying to get certain cyber crimes to actually be seen as crime in South Africa. So, like anybody interested in that, I would suggest you go and Google cyber crimes and the latest cases on that. It's super fascinating, even for people who are not in law. Like it's super fascinating.
Wow, that's good to hear. Thank you for that, and I hope that the best labor lawyer has something to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And last question. Last question. So this is out of GBV, right? We're speaking to women right now. So if an unmarried woman asks for advice to whether get married or not, what would then be your advice to that woman? It can be young, it can be old, like any woman.
So I know a lot of people say don't get married. I'm not one of those people. I married my high school sweetheart. We've been together for 10
Oh,
years and we got married last year. So I really believe marriage is not something that you should avoid. What I do want to say is if you decide to get married, make sure that you enter into the marriage empowered. So don't just marry, don't just sign anything. Consider entering into an antenuptial contract. Get an attorney to explain to you what the different marriage regimes are and which one will suit you and your fiance the best. So be empowered. Know what you are entering into. Don't just trust your boyfriend or your fiance, no matter how long you've known them, no matter how sweet and handsome and perfect they are. Don't believe them when they tell you, no, it's fine. Like, I'm fine. Like, I don't have a lot of debt. Ask them. You want to see everything because you need to enter into the marriage empowered, especially if you want to marry in community of property. You don't want to then get other people's like 100,000 rand debt or 1 million rand debt. And I mean, if you're fine with paying that, that's cool. But again, just be empowered. Just make sure that you know your rights.
most definitely. Make sure you know your rights. Oh, Daniel Hayward, thank you so much for joining me on this live conversation. It was so exciting and it has been an insightful conversation. I don't know if you want to share one or two more things before we end the live session.
Definitely. Firstly, thank you so much for inviting me. This was so nice. You're such a great person. Like you have such a great personality, and I just love speaking to you. And hopefully, we can meet soon in person for coffee.
Most definitely.
Yeah,
So meet with you
definitely.
for
Definitely, yes. Then I also just wanted to say, if there are people on this live or listening to the replay who are in abusive relationships and they feel alone, please don't suffer in silence. You're welcome to DM me, and I will also please tell me in which country you are then, and then I can help you to get support groups, whether on Facebook or on WhatsApp, that can help you so you do not have to feel alone.
Thank you so much. I hope everyone is listening and they've taken that for note. And yeah, I guess it's a wrap. Unless if someone has a question from the viewers. But yeah, there's no more comments, there's no question. So definitely thank you so much for your advice. And I hope people will DM you further advice. And it has been so insightful to learn about the law that protects victims who face gender based violence. So let me just read one comment here from the best labor lawyer. She's saying to add to marital rights, it's important to note that the Constitutional Court have now recognized Muslim marriages much online to update everyone. All right.
Definitely, that's a big one. Like, I remember when I first started studying law in 2017, I think, when I started with my BCom law degree, the lecturer was telling us about how Muslim women do not really have rights. Like,
Yes.
they are severely prejudiced in marriages. And it was just something that stick to me a lot. Like, and every time I meet someone in that situation, my heart really breaks for them. So I'm really glad that the legislator has finally started to do something about it. So happy about it.
Definitely, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. Okay, there we go. I've also had a colleague who was Muslim, and they've also shared about their struggles in Muslim marriages, how they're being, like what like they can't voice out. So it's good to hear that there's Muslim marriages caught, like it
It's
has been
being recognized now,
recognized.
yeah.
Yes. All right, thank you so much once again for joining me. Thank you to my family for joining me. I see. All right, I see. Fem here has joined. Fem Bay has joined. Thank you so much. It has been lovely to have this chat with you. And from my side, thank you so much. We'll definitely meet up for coffee. Hey.
We will definitely. Thank you so much once again for the invite, and I hope that you have a beautiful evening.
Thank you so much. Same to you. Goodbye. Bye. Thank you so much, South Africa, for joining AIM, for joining me on this live conversation with Danielle Hayward. That is a founder of Justice in Health, a woman who empowers women regarding the law, and she's also a professional writer. She does a whole lot of things, especially advocating for women. So I take it we have learned a lot about GBV and its law. And if you need any assistance, don't be shameful to, DM Danielle Hayward, or to speak about it, or to find help. It's not a shameful thing. These things happen. I don't know if anyone wants to join me in having a short conversation regarding anything regarding GPV. There's no more comments from here. But yeah, that was Daniel Hayward. And yes, we tackled GPV and its law. So there's no questions. There's no questions going once, twice, three times. I'm kidding. But thank you so much, South Africa, for joining me in. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace.